Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
I first played Mechwarrior online about 3 years ago, when the game was brand new, long before the first clan mechs were ever introduced. But I couldn't get into it. I played it for a few days, got maybe 1 kill in total, got frustrated and just forgot about it again. Then less than a year ago I decided I should give it another go. I had learned a few things about tank combat and armored warfare and figured some of those skills must surely transfer over. They did not, and I quit maybe a week in, having made no substantial contribution to the single victory one of my teams accidentally achieved. Last weekend I saw a Warhammer 40k post on Imgur that depicted an Imperial Titan. Just a Warhound class light scout Titan, but hey. It got me thinking that I should give MWO another shot. And somehow, finally it clicked. I currently enjoy pilot skill rating 4 and it's steadily rising. I'm close to getting master efficiency for my first mech class. I've unlocked my first module via pilot skills, and I am blessed with both a positive kill-death and win-loss ratio. But the learning process was hard. So for any interested parties I decided to make a list of small things I wish I'd known from the start. Things I discovered that, judging from 150 times of watching my teammates play after I died, not everybody playing seems to be aware of, and that just make things easier. Okay, first off, you can align your mech to wherever your crosshairs are pointing by hitting the F button. If you hit the numpad 0 button as well, you will automatically keep moving at full speed in the direction you are pointed. That way you can look around as much as you like, or use the B button to activate the battle grid, which is Mechwarrior Online's version of a map. That will allow you to see, for instance, if nobody is capping a specific point. In this example here, nobody is heading towards Sigma. So, since communication is key in Mechwarrior Online, because even more so than in the most team-based first-person shooter, nobody is Rambo in this game. You need a full team to achieve victory against another full team. So if you have a headset or a microphone, just press the control key to speak to your team. If you do not, press Z and you can chat with your team. Also, while automatically running, you can take care of last-minute weapon bindings. You can use the arrow keys to control the indicator on the lower right-hand side weapon loadout indicator. Using the right control key, you can then activate or deactivate the currently selected weapon for the currently selected weapon group. If you hit backspace, you can activate change fire for the currently selected weapon group, which will automatically leave just enough of a time difference between activating each successive one of those weapons, so that you don't get a heat spike from using several weapons at once. This is a very important aspect of Mechwarrior Online, because as you can see here, my mech shuts down just as I am targeted by long-range missiles, as well as an artillery barrage. In addition, you can lock or unlock your arm from your torso using the Shift key. If you lock your arm and torso, it makes it very easy to aim, because you only have the one reticle. Whatever you are currently using will be pointed in that direction. While if you unlock it, the targeting crosshair and the small circular indicator will be separate from one another, as long as your mech has some form of arm-mounted weaponry. This will allow the arm-mounted weaponry to be much more dexterous than the torso-mounted weaponry. It will react more quickly to changes of your cursor position, as well as giving it more range of movement. As you can see here in this example, where I am able to fire just about behind me, while keeping my side presented to the enemy instead of my vulnerable front armor. It's also very important to be aware of which mech you're currently piloting, as well as where its weapon mounts are. For instance, if you are in a king crab, the left-hand torso-mounted energy weapons are located to the left and above your cockpit. They will, from your point of view, shoot downwards at enemies, which is perfect for peeking over ridges. If, however, you're currently driving the same mech I am here in this example, the PPC I am using is mounted in the arm, which is located underneath the cockpit and will shoot upwards from your point of view, which means that you may just hit terrain instead of your enemy. Also, weapons mounted to the sides of the cockpit will be coming from very different directions. So in this corner peeking example, my left arm will be able to hit the enemy much sooner than my right arm. If I want to bring both weapons to bear, I have to expose myself entirely to the enemy fire, whereas if I was content with just using the left arm, peeking around this left-hand corner, I could be able to expose just my arm and perhaps my left torso. The current example also shows off the different vision modes you have available. In addition to your normal view, you can also press N to activate night vision, which tints everything green and makes it easier to see in low light environments, as well as H. As you can see here, it turns everything dark, and hot things, some mechs for example, weapons fire, fires burning just around you, these things will appear as white. Thermal vision, basically. You also have a two-step zoom using the Y key. If you have the appropriate pilot skill and bought the appropriate model, you also have a picture-in-picture extra zoom stage, which can be seen here, but you should be aware that you don't have to have it activated all the time. In this example here, an Atlas is using it with a Gauss rifle, which is fine, but also with short-range missiles, where the extra zoom is not just not useful, it's actually detrimental, because things will appear much closer, while short-range missiles have a range of only 270 meters. So here he wastes a shot because he thinks the enemy is close enough, while actually the enemy is very far away, just very zoomed in. Please be aware of which zoom mode you are currently in and adjust appropriately. This brings us directly to the next item, know your weapons. For instance, here in this example, I am shooting at an enemy 394 meters away with a small laser, which has a maximum range of 270 meters. All I am doing here is building up heat, which will amount to absolutely nothing because my laser doesn't even reach him. It's useless. Also, be aware of the DPS of weapons. In this example here, I am face-to-face, one-on-one with an enemy, and I know that my DPS is greater than his. I am still quite healthy. I know that I can just stand and face him. I don't have to run, nothing of the sort. However, I am not paying attention. I am building up too much heat and shutting down. He could have used this opportunity to run, which probably wouldn't have saved him anyway, but he might have also used it for an alpha strike, which may have shut him down, but might have finished me off. Instead, he uses it to position himself behind me, and fortunately I was only overheated by a little bit, so my shutdown wasn't very long and I get the kill. But that was down more due to luck. However, I knew that I could, if I paid more attention to overheating, win this engagement because I know at least roughly the DPS of the weapons and that my weapons would out DPS him. Also, be aware of your surroundings. This Kodiak here obviously isn't. I am shooting him quite substantially with 4 machine guns and a medium laser, and he's not even paying the slightest amount of attention to me. That's what you get. When you are hit from anywhere, a red indicator will appear on your screen, showing you from where. Assume if you were to look down from above at your mech, it would indicate the direction from which the shots are coming. If you see it in game, it's going to make sense. And don't just be aware of your surroundings, also be aware of yourself. In this example here, I am turning my armor with the arm towards the long-range missiles, because my center torso is already damaged and my arm can take a couple more hits, so I just turn to the side. And then I retreat backwards, because while my frontal armor is of course very important for brawling engagements, my backwards armor is already stripped off, and if I were to turn around and run, which yes, would be a little faster, the chances of my engine exploding would be quite high, while my frontal armor can still take a couple of hits. So it's always best to spread out the damage you receive to parts of your armor that are not yet damaged. And again, see, because I didn't have arm lock activated, because my arms can move freely from the torso, I could hit this very fast moving mech. However, now that he is right in front of me and he is so much faster than I can even turn my torso around, it's almost impossible, assuming that he is a decent player, for me to kill him. So instead of standing there like an idiot turning in circles which will amount to absolutely nothing, I instead decide to head towards my teammates. Quite often they may be able to strip him from me by taking him under fire, making him reconsider his life choices and hightailing it out of here. In this particular case I couldn't, but I did manage to do some more damage to help my team out before I died. And speaking of teamwork, a very important aspect of that is marking your targets. If you hit the R button, you will select the target currently closest to your crosshairs. If the triangle above the head of an enemy is red, it means that, so fully filled, it means that this enemy is already being targeted by other members of your team. If it is empty, just the outline, it means that the target is not currently targeted by somebody from your team. Generally speaking, you do want to target the same ones as your teammates because you want to focus fire, because, yeah, it's great if every one of you damages some enemies, but really, an injured enemy can still do damage. A dead enemy cannot damage you anymore. So if you focus fire on just one of them, take him down, his weapons will be out of the game. So you generally want to target the full triangles. But in the beginning stages of a game, you want to target the outlined triangles, because the first mech to target one of these will receive a scouting bonus. Here in this example you can see me get 4 scouting bonuses within just a couple of seconds, as well as doing damage and getting assists later on when these enemies will be killed. Though once again, as in the earlier example, I am not actually accomplishing very much here, because my medium lasers have a maximum range of 540 meters, and I know that these enemies are further away than that. You can see the range indicator directly to the right of your crosshairs. It will be pinpoint accurate to the middle of the crosshairs. Whatever you're pointing at is that many meters away from you, and if it says more than 540, there is no point pointing your medium lasers at it. Now, another very important aspect of the game is play the objective. Unless you're playing skirmish mode, you want to play the objective first. If you can kill all the enemies, that's great, that gives a lot of C-bills, that gives a lot of experience, but the most determining factor of a successful game is if you win it. And to win it, you have to play the objective. Here in this example, I am taking a couple of pot shots at this light mech here, because I know that he is headed towards our base, towards his base, basically, the base that we have to capture. And if I soften him up, whoever is capping that base will have an easier time dealing with him. But I am not chasing that rabbit, I am headed towards our base, because I can see from the battle map and from the environmental indicators that my guys there are outnumbered, and somebody needs to step up, and there's not many choices left